You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You just remembered very specific things.
Joy.
Here's my question.
We're talking about
Here's my question.
You didn't answer my question.
No. I'm going to answer your
Great.
question.
I would love to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm interviewing you and you're not interviewing me. So let's just make sure it's a conversation. Okay,
great.
So
what's going on, America? I'm the right-winged angel out of America. And in this video, we're going to talk about MSNBC's resident racist Joy Reid defending the undefendable. So she brings the co-founder of the conservative organization Moms for Liberty to discuss the banning of these inappropriate children's books. You know, the ones that are talking about sex. Well, Joy Reid seems to have no problem with these books being shoved in the faces of your second, third, and fourth graders. But shout out to Moms for Liberty for destroying each and every one of Joy Reid's arguments. So if you couldn't stand Joy Reid before, you're really going to not like her after this video. Let's check this out.
The question I'm asking is, what is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story of a young man who's raped by his adult family member. So you have Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer for you.
I had to edit this video because, of course, YouTube does not want these things discussed. I get it. But the fact that this is the argument presented by the co-founder of Moms for Liberty, that these books contain this type of explicit material. That should be it. That should be end of discussion, right? If a logical person, if somebody with half a brain listens to the things that are contained in these books, then a logical person would say, you know what? You're right. I don't want these books nowhere near my children. But, of course, Joy Reid, who gets her marching orders from the Democrat Party and the establishment elites, is going to have to defend the undefendable.
So, in what context is a on acceptable for public school? That's my question to you. Tell me what the context around
go ahead.
On or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No, wait, we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
So now you've asked me questions.
Sure.
I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Well, who is the main character? What's the name of the main character in All Boys Aren't Blue?
You're asking me right now.
You just gave me very specific information about this book, so you're presenting yourself as somebody expert.
It's the gentleman.
Hold on. Who's the main character in the book?
The main character is the author.
What's his name?
George, I believe, is his first name.
Because you're giving me very specific information that is.
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You just remembered very specific things.
Joy.
Here's my question.
We're talking about.
Here's my question.
You didn't answer my question.
No. I'm going to answer your question.
Great. I would love to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm interviewing you and you're not interviewing me. So let's just make sure it's a conversation. Okay,
great.
So what I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert in this book,
I don't have to be an expert to know that doses aren't appropriate for public school. I mean, let's get real.
Is a full context story, as you said, of the author's experience. Why is it your right or a Moms for Liberty activist's right to say that a parent who wants their child to have access to this book, which gives a personal experience of this author, why doesn't a liberal parent, for instance, or a parent of an LGBTQ kid, why don't they have a right for their child to just have access to this book? Why is it your right to say they can't?
So, again, we're talking about...
And each parent... No. Each parent has to decide what is appropriate for their child to read. So I want you to answer... I'm going to ask it one more time.
So basically what Joy Reid is saying, each parent should decide what's appropriate for their child to read. So basically, you should put any and every book. Should parents be able to decide if their kids can read Playboy magazine? Can parents be able to decide if their kids can read Hustler magazine? Is that still a thing? Did I just date myself? Because I don't even know if Hustler magazine is still around. But anyway, can parents decide if their children can read or look at adult content in school? Should they make every single book, every single magazine available for children and then have parents decide if their kids can read it? Is that what Joy Reid is arguing? Is that really the argument that she's making? We should have a sense of, what's acceptable for humanity, for society. We shouldn't have a debate on whether children should be looking at books containing sexual material for third graders, fourth graders, second graders, first graders. We shouldn't have to have a debate about that. We should all be able to agree that this stuff is not appropriate for children. But since we live in the Twilight Zone, in Looney Tune land,
your right to tell a parent who wants their child, who might feel seen by this story, why don't they have the right? Why don't they have the right as a parent to say, my child can have access to this book?
If a child feels seen by this story, that means that they have been the victim of a predator. That means that they have either been raped by a family member, they've experienced...
and you're that is what?
You just said that
What's
if a child feels seen by this story.
What I'm saying, Joy, you're now making assumptions about it.
No, but if a child has been... We should do a lot better than put a book on a library
shelf. Now you're literally creating a story behind a child that you don't know.
Wow. Thank you to Moms for Liberty for being the only voice of reason in the room. Joy Reid is a monster. She wasn't always like that. I think that Trump derangement syndrome is like cancer. It has stages. You have stage 1, stage 2, stage 4, to where you get terminal. It seems like Joy Reid has terminal TDS, and TDS can manifest itself in a ton of different ways. First, you just don't like Trump. And then you start believing this crazy nonsense that the left is pushing. All of it defies all logic and reasoning, but for some reason, these people are committed to pushing these narratives and pushing this insane stuff, even when it affects children, our children. I don't even know if Joy Reid has any young children, so she probably doesn't even have a stake in this game. You could talk all you want about how these books should be available to your child. I mean, how these books should be available in schools, but when we don't have a child that's school age, it doesn't affect you. So you can say all this stuff because it doesn't affect you. And that's how a lot of these liberals are. They're pushing this stuff on our children. I have a child that's in 3rd grade. So this stuff is going to affect me. It's not going to affect people like Joy Reid. It's not going to affect a lot of these celebrities whose kids are being homeschooled, or they go to these fancy private schools where I know they're not doing stuff like this. So that's what people say. Like, the left doesn't have children. They have yours, these liberals. So they're not worried about their children or their future children or their grown children. They're worried about your children, because that's the children that they want to have influence over. They want your children to push this stuff onto their children. So society transforms into what liberals want it to transform into. And if all these children are indoctrinated with this stuff, eventually they will believe that this stuff is normal. And when we're pushing back against it, then they're going to find out, they're going to see that, or they're going to think that we're the crazy ones, right? We may think they're the crazy ones now, but enough of these people believe it, enough of these children believe this stuff, then they're going to start thinking we're crazy. We could have children that are so indoctrinated with this stuff when they get older and they're put in positions of power. Now they're trying to lock us up. The people who don't believe that there are more than 2 genders, the people who don't believe that a man could be a woman and a woman could be a man, they're going to lock us up like they do in these other countries for hate speech, for not having approved speech come out of our mouths. And it's a terrible, terrible dystopian society that we're in store for if we continue to let these people indoctrinate our children. So make sure you go to these school board meetings. I love when I see parents that go to the school board meetings and they stand up and they speak out against this stuff. They actually read the material that is being pushed on their children. And when these adults who aren't familiar with it actually hear it, they're just as disgusted as we are. So we need more people to start doing that. Start standing up. Stand up for your children or for the future of our country. Because if you don't, we won't have a country. And Joy Reid, you better get your act together. Please go seek help. You need therapy. You need counseling. You need to be committed, because I cannot believe that you try to defend what you just tried to defend. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right, I'll catch you guys in the next video. I'm out. Peace.